don't know the schedule. What's this? Party time?
No.
What we got? Oh, you got talk yet?
I still have to talk, don't I? Some of you may know my background, that I was in the Marine Corps for many years. And when I was in the Marine Corps, I'll tell you stories. Back in the 80s, when I was in the Marine Corps, back in the 80s, and I met a guy who actually had a false leg, a hook for a hand, and an eye patch. And he was a sailor. And I thought, wow, what had happened? This was the 80s. It wasn't like we just were in a war. I didn't understand what had happened. So I went to him and I asked him, I said, what happened? He said, well, I got to tell you, when I was out actually trying to save somebody once, when we had a problem, I actually lost my leg. And I had to get a fake leg. I said, wow, it's amazing. Then he told me a story about how he lost his hand. He was out in the Arctic, and his hand froze. And he lost his hand, and they gave him a hook for a hand. But oh my God, this is crazy. It's just insane stories. I said, what happened to your eye? He said, well, I was out on deck one time, looked up, and a bird pooped in my eye. I said, bird pooped in your eye? He said, yeah, first day with the hook. So, yes, of course that was a joke. I'm just teasing you. Of course I'm teasing you. Yes, of course that was a joke. It didn't happen. I tell you that story just because I want you to understand something. As libertarians, what's important to us is communication. As you mentioned perfectly, my dear. Thank you so much for saying that. Communication is everything. And when we communicate, we must remember something. It is emotion first and then logic. When you're speaking, you always must begin with emotion and culture first and then logic. Logic does matter. It's important. But we've got that down. We do. If it was only logic, we would have won 40 years ago.
Yes.
Right? We would have won already. But it isn't only logic. It's also emotion. And that part we forget. And for many of us, we have a history of not winning. And when we haven't won for so long, what do we fall back to? What we do well, argue. We win arguments, we're really good at it. I don't want us to win arguments. I want us to win hearts and minds. And to make that happen, we don't have to water our message down. We don't have to change our message. We've just got to touch the emotional aspects of our party first. When talking with someone, talk about what the emotional aspects are. Someone asked me a while ago, I think I was in New Jersey, someone said, Larry, I have a question for you. What's more important? Is it more important to talk about libertarianism or the Libertarian Party? And I said, neither. Instead, talk to people about libertarian answers for their problems. Discuss and let them know you care about their issues more than you care about your principle. And boy, is that hard for us. That's hard for us. But we have to understand that they care about their issues first. Then if we can actually help them solve their problem, then they care about our principle. There's an old saying, no one cares how much you know until they know you care. When you say logic, they don't hear it. When you talk about their emotion, now their ears are open and they will hear what you have to say. Someone once asked me a question. They said, Larry, you know, I don't understand why you don't want people to have health care. Right? We get that, don't we?
Right.
Of course. Yeah. And my issue is, I'm not against universal health care at all. I'm against the mandate. I'm not against universal health care. I'm not. If you could find a way for the private sector to unite, to find a way to create their own insurances, to have them come together and create clubs, to have charities pick up the rest, and everyone could have health care, that'd be amazing. I'd love that. That's awesome. I'm not against universal health care at all. I'm against the force behind it. And that's our critical piece, the force behind it. Am I against seatbelts? Anybody here against seatbelts? One guy. Right? No one else is against seatbelts. So you want us to not have seatbelts?
You using one? No, you can have it.
Thank you. So you're not actually against seatbelts. That's my point.
Just for me.
You're against the force behind it. And that's my point. We're not against seatbelts. We don't want to go rip everyone's seatbelt out of the car. We don't care about that. If you want to have a seatbelt, awesome. Most of us use seatbelts voluntarily. Mm-hmm. Most of us would if there was no law. We still would. Yeah. We're not against the actual policy. We're against the force behind it. So when you're talking to people and they say, you want to kill kids, you hate people, you hate education, you hate this, you have to respond with, no, not at all. Can't we think of a better way to educate our kids? Really? Yeah, why don't we talk about that? Let's talk about that issue. Let's talk that we actually want similar outcomes. We just want to talk about the way to get there. When we're talking to people who aren't libertarians, which is hard for some of us, because we spend so much time around ourselves. When we're having those conversations, realize they actually don't get it. They think, they believe, and this is Bastiat, for those of you who love Bastiat, they believe if we don't want universal health care, we don't want health care. Now we know that's not true, but they believe it. And what they believe is what matters. Because people don't vote on truth. They vote on what they think is truth. We have to make sure they understand that. We have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do out there, and what does that mean? That means each of us must have, literally, hundreds of conversations. I need all of us in this room to literally have hundreds of conversations. Now note what I said, not hundreds of debates. It's not what I said. Hundreds of conversations. If we have those conversations, we will move the people outside of our party, even those who think we're crazy. How do I know that? Because I was one of them, and I was moved by conversations. I'm here because I heard someone talk. I heard Gary Johnson talk in 2012, and I thought, who are you guys? What? Librarians? What was that? What do you guys call liberals? I don't know. What are you? I had no idea. I came to the party, I met people, we had conversations, and now I'm here. Conversation works. We need lots of conversations. So if you're thinking to yourself, I gotta prove him right, you're making a mistake. You're making a mistake. If you wanna lead this party, and we are the future leaders of this party, you must understand something very important. Leaders are not worried about being right now. They're okay being right later. They don't mind. If I have a conversation, I don't get you to go, yes, you're right, I guess you go, I'm okay with that. Because a week or two later, you'll come back to me and go, Larry, that thing you talked about. When you get that, and some of you have had that happen to you, haven't you? You've had a friend come back to you a week or two later and then say, oh, you were talking about that thing? When you get that second conversation, you are winning. Now you're winning. But Larry, this guy's a statist. Maybe he is. Maybe she is. But remember something. The most zealous are the converted. Never forget that. The most zealous are the converted. You should look at someone who's, you guys are all statists, as, ooh, I can't wait to get him. Because he's the next party chair. I'm not joking, he's the next party chair. You know he is. Because once you turn him, he's the party chair. He can't wait. Yeah, you like the turn him idea? Like a vampire, right? Ah, gotcha. I turned you to a vampire. Yes, exactly right. Once you turn them, I use the word turn often because the country's facing the wrong direction. It's facing towards oligarchy. We've got to turn it around to face it towards actual freedom. Now, why do I say that? Because those same conversations that you're having with people outside the party, you're also going to have people inside the party. It isn't just outside. Because now that we've turned a corner and we're getting bigger, there are a lot of people in our party who still feel you're not pure enough. You're not my type of libertarian. Let me label you. You're not the guy I think you should be. You're not the gal I think you should be. The same thing applies. Even though I may not go as far as you want me to go, I may not go as fast as you want me to go, are we facing the same direction or not? If we're not facing the same direction, that's a problem. But if we're facing the same direction, why do we care? Why do we care?
Amen.
Yes. It doesn't matter. Now I know people will get mad at me and say, but Larry, you can't do this, or you must do that, or you must preach this, or you must say that. We are so far away from a libertarian nation. Why are we fighting over these small things? I can't wait until we've turned the ship around and we're facing the right direction, and all of a sudden, I'm the statist. I hope that's a problem. I hope that's a problem. That'd be amazing. That would be amazing that I'm the statist. I can't wait for that to happen. That's awesome. But if we understand that that's what we need to get to, when people get upset internally, it's the same thing. Don't try to win the argument. Instead, win their heart, win their mind, get them to say, all right, you and I on the same team. Unity now is more important for us than ever. Right now, unity is more important than ever because other people are going to start coming to our party. As we start getting bigger, the Dems and Republicans are going to start coming here. They're going to come here thinking that they can take our party over. And if we're not unified, they will win. That's a fact. If we're unified, they won't. If we have a unified party, a unified message, when they join us, and they will, this will still be our party. If we break apart, we will become either Democrat light or Republican light, depending upon how many of them come to us when the time comes. Whichever one thinks that we're their new vehicle, that's what we'll become. I don't want that to happen. I know you don't either, which means we can't fight each other. Unity matters. Let's think about this. Now, the rule I use often, some of you know my rule. Anybody know my rule? 80-20. 80-20 rule. Thank you very much. That's my rule. The 80-20 rule. What does that mean? If you can support someone 80% of the time, you should back them 100% of the time. Give them 100% of your backing if you support them 80% of the time. None of us are going to agree on everything. Period. None of us are. It's just not the way it works. And some of us, particularly people who come into the party, they have small pet peeves. They'll come in and go, I love libertarians, but NASA, come on, we can't give it to NASA, can we? You've seen this kind of thing, right? But this. And what do we do? NASA's terrible, SpaceX, no! 80-20, don't worry. Okay, for you, we'll work on NASA last. We'll work on NASA last, how about that? We'll work on that one last. It's okay. We'll get there, we'll get to NASA. We can keep NASA for a while, no worries, it's okay. It's okay as long as they understand that we've got to turn the ship around and move towards freedom and away from oligarchy. I talk often about theory. I know I do. Some of you tease me about it. And I do it on purpose. Because if we just fight an individual policy, we are just attacking the branch. I want to attack the root. And the root is the vast majority of Americans believe that government is the first answer. The vast majority of Americans believe that government is the first answer. If we can change that mindset, everything else comes into play. That's what matters. Now, some of you know, years ago, I was in intelligence in the Marine Corps. One of the things they talked about was when you interrogate somebody, what do you do, what do you say? It's a little story. And the story was about an American officer in the Korean War. He was captured, Army officer, of course, Army, not Marine. He was an Army officer captured. And he was interrogated by a Chinese interrogator. And he tells a story years later. In the 90s, he tells a story about when he was captured in the 50s. And the Chinese interrogator tells him, look, communism is great, all these great things about communism. And the captain, he's an Army captain, he says, why are you telling me this? He goes, I'm a West Pointer. I come out of the East Coast. I go back home when this war's over. I go back home to my rich family, my beautiful wife, my great house. How can you tell me communism is good? I'm never going to believe that. And the interrogator tells him, oh, I can't get you to believe that. I don't have to. All I have to get you to believe is that your way of life is not perfect. That's all I have to do. And you'll leave Korea. The goal was to just crack the facade of 100%. We have that in America. Government is the answer. Government is right. Government is righteous. A lot of people believe that. We have to crack that. Wait a minute, government isn't the only answer? Wait a minute, government isn't righteous? Wait a minute, law, is it by default right? Do you understand how many Americans believe that to be true? That law, by default, is righteous. These are things we have to break. We're not going to break them by yelling at them. We're going to break them by having conversations. So the more conversations we have, the better off we're going to be. Our goal is to have conversations. Now, a couple things you can talk about. I want to bring up the Middle East, because it's a big thing, right? Middle East. We're bombing Syria now, right? Great. The people who want to bomb Syria, the people who are okay with that, why would they be okay with that? It seems crazy. Anybody know why?
Fear.
Is it because of the kids? Is it really?
Fear.
Fear of what? Is it fear?
Hatred.
It's actually righteousness. They want to bomb them because we got to do something. We have to be righteous. The right thing to do is to bomb them. They feel it's the righteous thing to do. The people who want to bomb Syria, they're not bad people. at all. Well, some of them are, but most of them aren't. Most of them aren't. Most of them are just people who believe that they've done something wrong, we must be righteous, so let us bomb them. If you start telling them how wrong they are they going to hear you? They're not. Instead, what's the outcome that we want? And ask that question. Say, I got it. You're afraid of, you want the kids, you want to get those bad guys and bomb them. Do you think bombing is going to stop it? Say again?
Quite the opposite.
Yes, but the point is you want to ask that question. When it comes to having that emotional connection, first thing you do is acknowledge the emotion. Say, yeah, I get it, those kids. Acknowledge it. That's the emotion first. Remember I said emotion, then logic? Emotion. Don't fight them. I get it, those kids, terrible. Then a question. Do you think it's going to actually help to change it? They'll have no answer. But guess what? Now they'll hear you talk. Now you ask more questions. Now you have a conversation. When their ears are open, now give them the logic of how it's going to be the exact opposite. But you have to have that conversation first. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah. Whatever is happening, whatever issue, the war on drugs. We hear this all the time. I was on a radio show just last week when some woman called in and said, Larry, you can't end the war on drugs. I don't want drugs in my neighborhood. That's what she said. And my response was, I get it. It makes sense. Who would want that? Is it really the drugs or is it the crime you don't want in your neighborhood? That's what I asked. She goes, yeah, it's the crime you don't want in your neighborhood. Well, guess what? If you make drugs legal, the crime won't come to your neighborhood. And guess what else? The drugs, they're already in your neighborhood. They're already there, but they're in through the FDA, or they're in illegally, or they're on oxycodone, or they're on insert thing here. They're already there. And she actually heard me. Now, did she turn to become a libertarian? Who knows? I have no idea. But did she now hear me? And is she now open to the next libertarian who tells her how bad the war on drugs is? Yes, she is. How do I know that? Because people I talk to on the phone or email, all of a sudden start liking my post on Facebook. Now I know I'm winning. Now I know I'm winning. We all can win that way. It is emotion first and then logic. War on drugs, war on terror, seatbelts. It's irrelevant what it is, whatever the issue is. Remember, we're not against the outcome. We're against how do we get there. We're not against the outcome. I'm sure we all want people to have good educations, don't we? Yeah. Wouldn't that be great? But how do we do that when someone says, get rid of DOE? Oh my God, you can't get rid of Department of Education? Who educates our kids? The problem is, in this room you laugh. I come from New York City. I come from New York City. If I ask my friends a question like, if, you know don't want the government, educating your kids, do you? Their response is, if not government, who? That's their response. If not government, who? It isn't that easy to have that conversation, but we must. I know I'm being a nudge about this, but I'm always a nudge about this. This is what I do. I want you to think about emotion first. We've got the logic down. Most of us have more information about the government than the average person. Most of us do. I'm not concerned about that. I don't even talk about that. I'm talking about how do I get people to hear them? How do I get people to hear you, to get it? I tell an interesting story. You probably know this. The vast majority of Americans, the vast majority, believe that the Fed is a government organization that helps our economy. That's a fact. Not a fact that it's a government organization, but that the vast majority of Americans believe that it is. They believe that we would collapse without the Fed. The Fed is saving us right now. They believe that. How do I know that? Because I was 40 before I knew it. I was 40 before I knew it. And I had taught in 2 Ivy League schools at the MBA level. Did you hear what I just said? I had taught at Yale and Columbia at the MBA level, and I thought the Fed is a government organization. And when someone told me that, I thought they were lying. I had to look it up. And I went, oh my God, they're right. I did a class with a government organization in New York City. They were asking me, it was a leadership class about leadership and such, and it was during the election last year. And so some people wanted to talk about politics, about communication, leadership, and politics. I said, great, during the break, right? I want to bring up politics during the actual class. During the break, I bring it up. And they ask, and I told the team, Now this is 20 people, educated professionals, union workers, most of them, educated professionals, college degrees, engineers. They work for the city and Department of Buildings. Engineers. I told them the Fed was not a government agency, that it was a central bank. None of them believed me. Not one. Not one believed me. They all thought I was lying. This is a weekly class. The next week we come back, all of them are like, oh my God, you're right, I checked it out. You're right, oh my God, you're right. I said, you know that the Fed magically makes money. They were like, really? Yeah, go check it out. Next week, oh my God, you're right, it does. Yes, but my point is I didn't fight them. I didn't get mad. I didn't try to win the argument. I just told them what I thought and said, go on with yourself, do what you want to do, life is good. And over the course of 3 weeks, I got people realizing that we have a central bank. Who didn't know that? They will now tell their friends. This is what all of us must do. I am asking you to do this. That's why I'm here to ask you to get out there, communicate better. Logic matters. The argument matters, but emotions first. Without the emotion, they don't hear the rest. So I'm asking you all, remember, emotion and then logic. Thank you. I'm happy to take any specific questions or comments you might have, any issues or concerns you might have about how to speak to someone, specific issue. I'm happy to take that now. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I mean, going to logic is something my whole life, that's naturally what I tend to.
Yep.
It's very hard to get myself thinking about the emotions and I've tried over, several years, few months to really focus on that. Do you have any tips and tricks on just
Yes.
how to engage with the emotion and not go
Yes. When someone says something to you, can you give me an example of something someone might say that seems insane to you? Do you want to just attack?
I think that only the government should be in charge of the roads and the sewers, and they're the best fit for that.
Love it. I love that idea. So what if you said that, right? Someone says, I think only the government should be in charge of all the roads, sewers, all that stuff. Only the government. What do we want to say?
Shut up!
That's what we want to say, right? That's what we want to say, right? That doesn't work. Now, what do they really want? Just go in their head. What do they really want?
They want to have roads that work well. They want to have a sewer system that's
Yes.
proper.
So that's what I would say. I would really think about what that person wants, the outcome. What is the outcome? What do they want? And I would say, I get it. You want good roads and you want sewage that works. Makes sense. What happens when you say that to someone? Yes, they were this. I know you libertarians. I think the government is great for everything. And you go, I know you want a lot of good stuff. Yeah, I do. Now we're talking. The fists come down. The mental fists come down. So just say it. Yes, that's what you want. I get it. And now ask a question. Remember, acknowledge, ask a question. Then begin the conversation. That's the tip. Acknowledge, ask a question. Acknowledge thinking about what's the outcome they want, which you probably want. Remember that. The outcomes we probably all want. If we don't want, we don't care. Right? We either don't want or we either want it or we don't care. Like you don't not want seatbelts, right? You don't want to go by and pull seatbelts out of people's cars, do you?
Nobody else's but mine.
Exactly, yes. So if we all had seatbelts, you'd be fine with that, right? If we all had it, yes, you're not against it. So let them know, yes, I want that outcome. Great, I get you want that outcome. Is there a better way of making that happen? Do you think government's the only way? Do you think it's better like things like maybe is someone's own private road might actually be better? Is that possible? Ask those questions, see what they have to say. That's exactly the issue. And if they disagree and fight you anyway, sometimes you still win. Because sometimes they fight you because they just want to win. Yeah, government's sure, always better. And you know, oh no, you don't think that. At that point, go, okay, great, and walk away. Some of you have seen me do this on my Facebook page. Some of you have watched, right? Someone does all this stuff, and I go, okay, great. That's how I end it. Okay? And then all of a sudden, like. Right? All of a sudden, like on everything. Right? I just say the word, okay, got it. You guys are right. Oh, good. I'm not going to fight. Is that helpful or no?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, so remember, you don't have to end with a win. You can end with an opening. Okay, got it, no worries. My goal in any initial conversation is not to win the argument. My goal is to get them to have the epiphany moment. The more epiphanies we can create, the more we're gonna win. Maybe he's right. Maybe it's possible government is the only answer. That's it. Great, any other questions or comments? Go, please.
So I hear a rumor you're running for governor of New York.
Okay,
And is that correct?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Yes.
And we have a few people in this room, I think, who are running for governor of Illinois. One of the hardest things for libertarians, in my experience, is regardless of how good our message is, regardless of how good our emotional intelligence is getting in contact with the public at all.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for our candidates here on how to even be able to have that conversation at all?
Yes.
With a significant
Let me do two parts. I will be here tomorrow morning until at least probably 1-ish, give or take in that area, 12:30 or so. Someone's taking me to the airport. I forgot. You taking me to the airport, is that right? Yes. Around probably 1 o'clock or so. So if any people want to meet me, say around 10-ish, 11-ish, I'm happy to talk to candidates about how to do all those things in detail. I'll do a workshop if somebody cares. I'll be around. Just let me know. I'm happy to do it. But as a general rule, here's your rule. The broader your net, the weaker your net. I'll try it again. The broader your net, the weaker your net. You want to have specific target people you're looking for because that's how you can get their message. Right? So as an example, I'm going to make this up completely, but just you'll get the concept. All of a sudden, in your district, the people who are really going to probably vote for you, think you can, are going to be single mothers. I don't know what to be, I'm making it up. Single mothers. Come up with an idea of who the single mother is. Name her, age, how many kids does she have, make it a person in your head, and then ask yourself, where does she go to get her information? What does she watch? What does she look at? Who does she trust? Where does she go to get her groceries? What does she do every day? How can I be there? Does it make sense? How can I be there? Pick 2 or 3 people that you think you might win. Pick those 3 people and go to those places. Physically, should I be in front of the supermarket with a sign? Is that appropriate? I don't know, maybe it is. Does she go on Facebook? Maybe she does. Maybe she does. Is she a Twitter user? I don't know, ask. Does she watch TV? Does she go on radio shows? Does she watch podcasts? I listen to podcasts. Does she watch YouTube? What does she do? And what kind does she do? And how can I get myself, and how can I do joint marketing with those people who want to be in front of her also? Right, guerrilla marketing is our answer. How do I get in front of those people? How can I sponsor things or events that she may want to be in? You know, maybe we found out that people who are single moms are all trying to do part-time jobs. I'm making this up, obviously. Again, in your district, that happens to be true, right? Can we sponsor a workshop on how to be a part-time medical biller? I made it up. Can we do that? I'm serious. Can you sponsor that? Can you be there? Can you say, I care about working moms. It's a great way of making money. Let me show up. Sponsor that. Someone will help you do that, and probably for free. Does that make sense? Guerrilla marketing is our way. Broader the net, the weaker the net. The tighter the net, the stronger the net. I want tight nets, several of them. That's how we get in front of them without a lot of money. Was that helpful? Good. Go ahead.
I just want to commend you that you're a breath of fresh air when it comes to political messages.
Thank you.
One of my favorite books of all time is How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie, yes. So one only has to look at some of these other political parties to understand how they get their message out. You talk about emotion first. We've heard terms such as snowflakes and SJWs and safe places. Those are all based on emotions.
Yep.
So you're absolutely correct. We have to appeal to someone's emotion. Get somebody to like us before we can tell them what we're doing. So thank you for sharing that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, very true. Yes, good. Go ahead, please.
How do you get through to people who think they need government because people are inherently bad?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? This is an issue, right? If someone really thinks people are bad, that's true, great. And people do, right? Because then people are bad. There are 2 ways of handling that. First thing you do is you say something like, wow, I hope that's not true. I actually say that, because I've heard people say that. Now you can't do that, because then everyone will cheat, or everyone will kill people, right? Everyone will die. I hear it all the time. You hear that stuff too, don't you? You hear it, we all hear that stuff, right? If we don't have the EPA, every company will kill all of us, right? You hear that stuff all the time. The first thing I would say is, wow, I really hope not. Why would I say that? Yes, it's emotion. It's the first thing I say. Wow, I hope that's not true. Do you really think every company would kill all of us? I'm serious. I say that kind of thing all the time. Well, not every company. Oh, okay, not everyone. Like 3, 10, I don't know how many would. I have a conversation over that kind of thing. But go to the next level. If people are that evil, isn't government full of people?
Bingo.
That's what I say to them. Isn't government full of people? I don't know. If and this is what I've had this conversation before. If I have government full of people who aren't even being elected, being appointed, there's no repercussion. The government just does whatever it wants. But if it's a company, you know what I can do? I cannot buy from that company. I actually have some power if it's a company, don't I?
Sir.
But note what I say. I ask the question. I'm acting like I'm not even sure. Because the more I dictate, the less they will hear me. Are we here? Are we clear on that?
Yeah.
The more I dictate, the less they will hear me. So I don't dictate. So that would be the first step. But it's the second step to realize. Okay, great. If all these people are evil, how are we going to get the good people to come to the top? Why do we want to crush all the good people? Aren't there good people? This goes back to the idea that our country started. Our country was founded on the idea that guilty people will go free. We know that because we don't want to put innocent people in jail. Remember that idea? We've forgotten that completely. We've totally forgotten that. But we were built on that idea, right? That we know that our system will allow some guilty people to go free. We get that. But we're okay with that because we don't want innocent people going to jail. Right? That's gone. Bring that up, and you'll see how people begin to change and think. Here's the problem, though. In our country now, we have confused two words. They've become synonymous, and they're not. Punishment and justice. We've confused those two words. We've made them the same, and they're not. We have a Department of Punishment, not Department of Justice. It's true. There's no justice.
That's true.
Right? So since we've made that happen, to realize people believe that punishment is justice. We have to break that also thought and say, well, wait a minute. So some company's going to what, pay a fine? Yeah. What about the people who were hurt? Well, yeah, but the people pay a fine.
Exactly. How does that matter?
Yeah. How does it? It doesn't. It doesn't. So we have accepted in our head as a society, as a culture, that punishment equals justice. I think I told a story last night to some of you. I'll tell it again real fast. All right. In this scenario, I rob his house. When I rob his house, I take $2,000 worth of goods, and I steal his car, which is worth $6,000 at a time, and he loses his car for a week. That's a pretty bad thing. I've hurt him pretty badly, haven't I? What does America think now is justice for him? Put me in jail. So I go to jail now for, say, 6 years. Great. Wonderful. Who pays for that?
He does.
He does. He gets robbed twice. Isn't that awesome? That's justice. He gets robbed twice. Now, did he get his car or money back?
Nope.
If he has insurance, he got something back. And guess what else happened?
His insurance.
His rates went up. He got robbed 3 times. Isn't that awesome? He gets robbed 3 times. Justice. Justice.
Robbery is theft. Don't forget
Justice.
insurance went up too.
And yes, insurance goes up. He got robbed again. We've lost the concept that maybe instead of this happening, maybe instead I should go to jail for a short time, like 3 months, and then get back out and get a job and start writing him checks until I've paid my debt to him.
Reparation.
That would be justice. That's gone. That's gone. But when you tell people that, it's like, oh, that makes sense. But they can't get it because they believe punishment is justice. So when they want to punish the people, ask them about justice. Say, how does that help the person robbed? This idea of punishment goes into Syria right now, doesn't it? Right? Someone killed kids with chemical weapons. Justice is blowing them up. That's not justice. That's punishment. I'll give you 2 crazy ideas. Idea number 1. What if we just walked away from the Middle East completely? Walked away. There are 2 reasons why we can't. 2 reasons why we can't. Number 1, well then how can we punish them? You know I'm serious. I'm serious. How can we have to punish them though? Why? Because they're bad. So we have to punish them. So how can we walk away? We'll punish them. That's number one. I know it makes no sense, but you know Americans feel this. And second, when we walk away, what will happen right away? Think about it. What will happen?
Anarchy. In the big way.
Say that again? They're going to come after us. They're going to attack us. That's going to happen. Why will they attack us? Because we're the best recruiting tool they have. That's the reason. We're the best recruiting tool that terrorists have. We are. We create more terrorists than anybody in the world. We are the best recruiting tool there is. They will attack us again. And the second they attack us, what we want to do?
Right back.
Go right back. Gotta punish them.
Yep.
Gotta punish them. Gotta go right back. But if we actually just walked away and would deal with the initial brunt, they'd go away. How do we know that? The IRA and Sinn Féin. It's exactly what happened with the IRA and Sinn Féin. It's already happened, right? When it wasn't working, the IRA did double bombing in Britain. Let's bomb them some more. And the Brits said, boom, Sinn Féin. We take away the terrorist option, they have to have a political option. We've taken the terrorism away. So it makes total sense. But I'll go one step further on a moral issue. A moral issue. We had our own civil war, didn't we? We had our own revolution, didn't we? Why won't we let them?
Right.
Why won't we let them? We have stopped them from having their revolutions, stopped them from having their civil wars, so all we do is lengthen the actual time of death. Now, Canada chose independence without war. We chose with war. Both are the right answer. Both are the right answer. Each nation chooses its own way. Some of those nations in the Middle East will choose war. Some will choose civil war. Some will not. They're all the right answer. They will choose what they must choose. Morally, it is up to them to choose their government. Morally, it is up to them to choose when they go into democracy, how they want to go into democracy, and whatever democracy will be. And they may have a civil war and they might not. Our democracy had slavery and women who couldn't vote. Right? And we then adjusted our democracy as we needed to. And they will do the same for theirs, whatever that is. If they want to have Sharia law in the democracy, they'll have that now. Maybe for years it'll go away. I don't know. I don't care. It's not my country, it's theirs. They have to do it their own way. If we walk away, we are actually being moral. The moral, ethical answer is to walk away. And that's what we won't do because we have to punish. And that goes all over the world. I know it sounds bad, I'm sorry, it's kind of gloomy, huh? Yes, but anyway, if we do walk away, you will see that happen. Great. Any other question or comment? Go ahead, please.
So, a more immediate concern regarding running for office and petitioning and whatnot. We, of course, get all sorts of comments like, well, I would vote for you guys, but you guys can't win.
Yep.
And I'm sure you know all. So, what would your suggestion be on how to best deal with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. What happens when they say you can't win? What do we always do?
75% first, and then
We rebut it.
We rebut it.
Yeah.
We rebut it. Is that the right answer? No. Emotion first. Exactly right. I know. I go out and I get signatures in New York. I play the same game you guys play. I'm out there in the street, same thing. In a city that's 90% Democrat, I'm there. I get you, right? So what do? I say things like this. Well, you guys can't win. And I go, you know what? That's a great point. That's what I say. It's a great point. And the problem is because we're not allowed to give you that choice. Wouldn't you rather have that choice? That's how I actually talk. Wouldn't you have that choice? Well, yeah, I have a choice. Yeah. So if you were to sign, you're giving people that choice. Of course you can't win if no one gives the opportunity to win. You're right. But if you sign, now you have that choice. That's what I do with the issue. Does it make sense? It's emotion and then the logic. Always I can't keep saying enough. If I said it 100 times, it's not enough. Emotion and then logic. Never do I want to say, okay, but. Yes, but. I get it, and here's a question. I get it, and here's a question. You should have that in your brain. I get it, and here's a question. You do that, you'll get people to hear you. Better chance they'll say yes. Was that helpful or no?
Yes.
Good, excellent. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
Do you have any advice for working
Wow, that one's tough for me because the college environment has changed so much in the last 15 years. It's really almost a hostile environment in many ways. So I'm unsure. I don't think I'm the right guy to answer that question before with you. I think there's another guy in the room who might help you out.
And he's pointing.
Yeah. He might want to help you out on that one. I'm sorry. Yes, I don't want to give you an answer I don't think I can answer. It's a tough world right now there. I mean, it really is it's a negative environment. So sorry about that. I wish I had a better answer for you. Yes. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much.